You're listening to Hard in the Paint with your hosts, Kyle and Justin. A Clemson basketball podcast sponsored by the Fanboys. Let's go!
What is up? What is up? What is up, everyone? Welcome to Hard in the Paint. I am your host, Kyle.
And I'm Justin.
Man, we're here to talk about everything and anything men's and women's Clemson basketball. Been a long time coming, hasn't it, brother?
Oh, man, it's been a long time coming since the youth of this idea to do this podcast. It's very exciting to be on this journey with you to talk about one of the sports I love, which is basketball.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Want to do some opening statements, go over our sponsors. We are sponsored by Pepsi, Clemson's Wine Bar, Arden's Burger and Grill in Central, Upstate Physical Therapy in Anderson, Greenville Sports Media, and, of course, the Fanboys. Brother, it's gonna be a fun one. It's gonna be a fun ride. Gonna have lots of legends in here, covering everything, men's and women's Clemson basketball. Bro, I'll let you get into the women's side of things first. We'll go into this preview show.
All right, man. So on the women's side, I mean, we can obviously talk about returning Amari Robinson, who was Clemson Lady Tigers' leading scorer and leading rebounder at 13 and 7. And then on the other note, Mackenzie Kramer, who was 17.2 points per game, was second in the Patriot League in scoring and had 24 games. Yes, 24 in double figures. I mean, that's almost the entire season.
Talk about consistency, my dude. Like, good God.
Right. And now, I mean, let's talk about the out of conference since we finally have a schedule. I was wanting to wait for this first episode because I wanted to be able to have a schedule to talk about. So, exactly. I mean, obviously, first one on the top of that list is South Carolina. But on this note, I mean, there are 3 SEC opponents on this schedule. I mean, obviously, Clemson's seeing if they want to make the tournament, they got to bring the fire early in the tournament. I mean,
there's no slight of competition, that's for sure.
No, there is definitely not a slight of competition. But like I said, South Carolina, who was 36 and 1, the only loss was in the women's Final Four to Iowa. SEC champs went 16 and 0 on the year. In the conference. I mean, they're obviously the top of the list and top of the class in the women's side of things.
As they should be.
Yes. Dawn Staley's got it going on at South Carolina.
For sure.
Alabama, again, another SEC opponent. One thing we can talk about them is obviously their total record was 20 and 11, 9 and 7 in the conference. Lost first round in the NCAA women's. I mean, whenever you make the women's tournament, it's a big deal, especially how hard it can be to make it. And I mean, they lost to, I believe it was Baylor who they played. So they didn't lose to no
slouch by any means.
Slouch. I mean, we're talking about Baylor who won the whole thing a couple years back.
Exactly.
Auburn. And the great thing about Auburn is we actually got somewhat of a even matchup with Auburn last year in the women's NIT second round, where the Lady Tigers came out on top 56-55. I mean, whenever you can get one up on a team that you've already played, it's very important.
We're going to see them very early. We're going to see them very early too. So we got to make sure we, we keep it going with them taking 2 in a row.
Oh yeah, and I mean, this is your opponent when it comes to, obviously it's not the Big Ten ACC Challenge anymore. It's the ACC SEC Challenge. So you want to get a win against opponent, and especially when it's something as big as the ACC SEC Challenge.
Yep.
So, and the last opponent that I would like to talk about is Liberty. I mean, they lost in the first round of the women's NIT to Bowling Green, but the thing that really sticks out is their record being 24-9 and 16-2 in the ASUN last year. And the reason why that's important, they moved up to the Conference USA this year. This is their first year in CUSA. So
keep moving up plate, man.
Liberty is a tough opponent, no matter what you bring. You know, they call it the mountain out there. When you go to play them, you're coming to the mountain. Yeah. Luckily, we don't have to go there. This game's going to be on a neutral floor in Houston, Texas in November. So
that's an invitational, correct?
Yes, that's a women's invitational tournament.
Yep. Always exciting for those, man. I'm going to jump into the men's side of things. Men have a plethora of transfers coming in this year. Brad Brownell brought in no slouch of, key guys to come in to replace other key people that we've had either graduate or go pro, things of that nature. We also retained a good amount of talent as well, but adding these pieces, guys like Joseph Girard III, transfer from Syracuse. Jack Clark, he's going to be a transfer from NC State, pretty much a trade, but we won't get into that part of things. Jack Heidebreder, he's going to be from Air Force, an absolute gunner from the three-point line. Dude's going to be stellar for us. We got Baz Latte from UNCG. That's in my neck of the woods. That man has an unbelievable post hook. I'm very excited. I'm very excited for him, man. He's going to be a huge key for us off the bench. Probably will get some starting minutes here and there as well. All of these guys have officially signed with the Tigers. I mean, leading you when you're bringing back guys like Hunter, PJ, and you're adding, legit stars like Joseph Girard, who was, I believe, top 3 in scoring in the ACC last season. It's pretty crazy. That's not all we brought in, though. Justin, I'm going to let you talk about this guy. Go ahead and grab in the big incoming freshman.
And so, obviously, you have to recruit as well. And so, Brad Brownell, along with the 4 that you mentioned, incoming freshman Asa Thomas from Lake Forest, Illinois, obviously a basketball area, who averaged 19 points, 5.7 rebounds, 1.7 assists. And he did this while shooting 52% from the field, but also making 83s.
Talk about a gunner, bro. Just a straight gunner.
He can stroke it, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we've got a great, surge of young talent coming in, guys like Godfrey, and then adding, Asa Thomas is just, it's just like we're putting the pieces together, to actually try and be ultra competitive within a conference that's pretty dang hard to stay consistent within, especially on a talent level of the ACC. It's just, you always are going to have, your blue bloods of basketball, your Dukes, your Carolinas, things of that nature. And you have the up and coming, the past decade or so. Virginia has always been solid. VT's always been solid. So, if we can stay consistent with building and building and building, I really like our chances to, take the next level in basketball, which is what everybody I feel like is looking for in the men's team. And I believe writers see us in that same breath as well, because we're predicted to finish 3rd, only behind Miami and Duke. Miami had a great season last year, took it the farthest for any ACC team, which I promise you no one would have predicted. But, they had the guys to do it. They had some injury troubles there at the end of the season, especially in the center and power forward side of things. So, and Duke, Duke is Duke. So it's not like absolutely insane to have those two in front of us. But I mean, to think that we're predicted to be ahead of UNC, Virginia, and UNC was no slouch in the transfer portal as well. I mean, they brought in some straight dogs. So
and
I mean, I was
return some straight dogs too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they still have Baycott and Co. So I was extremely excited to see that where we were predicted to finish in. Going within the out of conference things, I'll let you touch on those, man. I know you had a few you wanted to name out of the out of conference, and if so, I can name a few myself.
Well, obviously, the first one that looking at the out of conference is UAB, being Conference USA. But here's the thing: they lost the NIT championship game, the tournament that we exited out of early last year,
very early,
to North Texas. Basically, another Conference USA opponent who actually they beat during the season. So they're not a slouch of a team. When Clemson goes to play them, they better bring the A game.
Yep.
Obviously, you got to talk about Maryland, longtime ACC opponent till 2014, became big. Lost in the second round to Alabama. I mean, they're a team that always will bring their A game as well.
It's an NCAA tournament team, pretty much through and through. They're pretty consistent, so I definitely key that one as well. One I wanted to sit there and note on was Boise State. I mean, Boise State won 24 games last season, so it's not like they're no knockoff in within themselves.
And I mean, they lost to who was it? It was Northwestern in the first round of the NCAA tournament. So another NCAA tournament team.
It's just like the women's, man. It's no slate of competition. I mean, Alabama's in there as well. Alabama was a tournament team last year, a very, very consistent team. Were they Sweet 16 or Elite 8?
They were Sweet 16.
That's what I thought. Okay.
They lost to, what was it? Florida Atlantic. Yeah, Florida Atlantic.
Who was a Final Four team.
Yeah.
So, or am I mistaken? Did Florida Atlantic make the championship, and I'm over here tripping on myself?
I believe you're tripping because it was San Diego State.
That's right.
Yeah.
It was San Diego State and Florida Atlantic in the Final Four. Okay, so I'm not crazy. I was about to say they were Final Four team, but I knew there was somebody in there that's not usually there. But anyway, what's it called? Another team I wanted to note on for out of conference, of course, is Memphis. We got a home and home coming up with them. That's going to be a good game, man. That they're a strong team. They've been a strong team. It's just like the women's, man. It's no slouch of competition, and I love it because you're going to find out a lot about your team, especially in these out of conference games on both sides of men's and women's. So, kudos to them.
You got some other opponents in there. I mean, you got TCU, who lost in the second round of the NCAA tournament.
It was a very good three-point shooting team. Yeah.
Oh, yes. You're going to have hands in the face. And even then, I mean, they can stroke it with the hand in the face. Or
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. Another game we, of course, need to note. It's always important to note. We got to get back at U of FC. I'll say it just to make some people angry. But yeah, I mean, we got to get back at them. That was a tough L last year. I mean, one of the L's that was, one of the quad losses that kept us out. So we got to get it done this time. Can't have those slip up games, like slip up games versus Louisville and such. But I don't want to talk too much about last year. I don't want to get into that. It's a new year. We got a new surge of talent. I wanted to note podcast marathon. That's going to be live in Arden's Burger and Grill in Central. You're going to hear us during that marathon. It's going to be put on by the Fanboys. Make sure you tune in. TrueVictory.com. Make sure you use code TheFanboys. Get you 15% off your order. The Amazon link on the main page of the Greenville Sports Media to order all your fan gear. Brother, it's been a great first episode. I mean, these people got to know what they're coming into. It's a great preview, look into things. I'm excited, man. We're going to have a lot of fun with this, especially when we start bringing some of these legends on. I'm telling y'all, we got a great slate coming up.
Oh, I mean, the fanboy in me is just excited about the legends that we have coming.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
these are names that if you follow Clemson basketball, you know these names. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
So
We're going to get a lot more in. Of course, we're going to be covering, like I said, anything and everything men's and women's Clemson basketball. For Hard in the Paint, I'm Kyle.
and I'm Justin.
We'll catch y'all on the next episode.